The Roadie Strength Podcast is brought to you by Strength and Sport Physical Therapy for all your PT, recovery, and performance needs. We help you get back on the field, back in the gym, and back to a healthy and active life. What's our three-step process? Well, number one, we want to diagnose the cause of the injury. Number two, we want to make progress towards your goal. Number three, we want to push performance and prevent it from happening again. What's our history? Well, we were founded in 2017 within a CrossFit gym, Spartan 360, in Middletown, Rhode Island, with a dream to create a PT clinic that revolves around fitness. Since then, we've expanded to two separate locations in Rhode Island, Portsmouth and Providence. We hope to continue to serve Rhode Island and the greater community for many years to come. Our big goal is we want to help you get back to the activities you love. What's our edge? Why we cut above the rest? Well, we provide one-on-one attention. Every session's with a doctor of PT. This helps you get the most out of your rehab. We provide a variety of techniques, whether it's dry needling, cupping, exercise, correctives, and we base our rehab basically on the most up-to-date research, whatever is evidence-based. And we specialize in athletics. We walk the walk of fitness and sport. We have certifications including the CrossFit Level 2, USAW, CSCS, SCS. We do bike fitting. We do running analysis, concussion rehab, dry needling. Really, we want to build a better you. To get in touch, give us a call or text 401-239-2784. You can give us an email, matt@strengthandsportpt.com. Follow us on Instagram @strengthandsport. Check us out online, www.strengthandsportpt.com. The Roadie Strength Podcast is now sponsored by Soul Friend Yoga. Find them online at soulfriendyoga.com, on Instagram @soulfriendyoga. They're a locally based Rhode Island company over in Bristol. They also have a beautiful online presence. You can take a look at all their apparel, all their yoga mats online. Really nice website. And their materials and quality are top notch. Me and my wife both have a yoga mat from them. My wife has a lot of their apparel, the yoga pants, the tops, the accessories. Great company, great people. Definitely check them out either in person, online. Give them a follow. Soul Friend Yoga. The Roadie Strength Podcast is now brought to you by Rob Levine, the heavy hitter. We've been really happy to have him jump on as a sponsor. I've personally used them this past year. My wife was in a car accident, and they were able to help us along every step of the way through getting properly compensated, making sure we weren't getting taken advantage of by the car insurance companies, and helping through with medical payments. So if you've been in a car accident, it's definitely worthwhile. Just pick up the phone and see how they can help you. The Roadie Strength Podcast is now brought to you by Perform Better. So you may know them initially from their bands, the mini bands, the loop bands, super bands. Just a really high quality rubber. They last a long time. They stretch really nicely, not like some of the cheapo ones. They're a local Rhode Island company. They're on the East Greenwich and West Warwick line, which is super cool. But they have reached national and international recognition. This company's been around for a long time. And they're just really known for having high quality gear, high quality equipment, outstanding customer service. Something breaks, they're willing to work with you, send it back, fix it, and just being really knowledgeable about their craft. They've been in the game for a long time. They do a lot of facility design, for the high schools, colleges, but they really work a lot with the pro teams, NBA, MLB, NHL, NFL. They have really good relationships with a lot of these teams. They do a lot of custom build-outs for their facilities, custom build-outs for their gyms, dumbbells, platforms, putting the custom logos in there, you name it. So some really cool stuff they're doing on that front. As far as education goes, they do a lot of courses. So whether online or in person, they have some of the top level courses in the strength and conditioning industry. And their Perform Better Summit, where you can actually go in there and listen to some of the top people in the industry and actually talk with them after the lectures, which is so cool, which you can't really get from some of this online stuff. But the education, they do really, really well. And the company's just great. It's I've met a lot of people there. They're tight-knit. They're good people. So check them out, performbetter.com, and on Instagram @performbetter. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Roadie Strength Podcast. We got another special guest on today, repeat guest, Dylon Grzenda.
Yep.
I screwed up. I was listening back to it. I screwed up your name last time. I can't screw up twice.
No,
I got to make sure I got it right.
You got it.
A lot to catch up on. I love to start these with rapid-fire questions. We'll see if you remember some of your answers from last time, and obviously probably have some change since last time. It's only been, I think, February of 2024, so a year and a half, but a lot's changed.
Lots changed.
Last changed a year and a half.
It's been a crazy year.
All right, so first one, we got favorite coffee shop.
Favorite coffee shop? I've been spending a lot of time in the Cape, so Snowy Owl and Sandwich. And the Cape Cod is really good spot. They got really good empanadas as well.
Ooh, okay. I'll be making a trip to the Cape soon for my buddy's wedding, so that will have to be a stop-through place. Sandwich. I mean, if you're going to the Cape, you're going through Sandwich.
Yeah,
it's
like, right there. It's the first one over the bridge. I was gonna say, if you're going to the Cape, you're going past it.
Snowy Owl. A good. Depending on how far you're going, maybe a mid-stop, 3/4 of the way stop. That's good. Okay. Favorite go-to breakfast?
Still staying with eggs. A lot of omelets, a lot of egg sandwiches.
Nice.
But anything egg-related.
Just get that protein.
Always good.
There
always
we
go-to.
Favorite Instagram accounts?
Ooh, I don't remember this from last time. Let's see. Favorite Instagram accounts. We were talking before, Dr. Braun, he's a fun one.
Yep.
I was able to talk to him a month ago, and I like a lot about how much personality he throws into it. Coleman Performance is another one.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I've also, Luke Hopkins, I've obviously gotten to the running game, so
yes.
He's another one where I just really like his personality. It just comes down to being personable. At this point, everyone's putting really good content out there.
Yeah.
I think social media in the fitness world is great, but it's really come down to personalities now.
I like that, how you can portray the information and spread the information without necessarily. There's some guys out there who just like trash other providers.
Yeah, it's also
it's
also
great.
being relatable.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I'm gonna bring him up now because David Goggins is in North Attleboro today. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I didn't.
it's been all over Instagram.
You guys were hanging out.
He ran right past the gym earlier.
Actually?
Yeah.
Did you see him?
I'll show. I did not see him. No, but it got thrown in our group chat. I'll have to show you a video later.
No way. He might be on his way. I mean, he runs far. Maybe he's on his way here.
Someone was like, "What is he running from Boston to the Cape?" But no, he's. I bring him up just because like he's one that obviously puts out a lot of good content, but it's sometimes tough to relate to him. So someone like Luke obviously is someone way more relatable and just brings a lot of excitement to it as well.
That's cool. And part of the reason I love asking this question is because those 3 names I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to follow them and check that out,
There you go.
and I can expand my knowledge on those.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. What you said last time, you were on a 1-month detox. I don't know if you remember that now. From I think TikTok or Instagram. You were taking a month off.
That's like every 3 months. I did that this year as well for
Nice.
January and February. I remember being on a snowboarding trip being like, all right, from this, I'm going to delete all social media for a little bit.
That's good to do once in a while.
That plays that last February. I was on a detox.
Nice. All right. And last time, I don't know if you remember, Tim Kelly, you shouted out Sean Fantuzzi, Mike Tucker, Villanova, Dan Foley.
All great names.
Yeah, all great names. Cool. Cool.
We'll talk about it later with the advanced rehab course, but a couple of them were speakers at the seminar that was in LA this year. So
cool. Again,
really good names and really good people to continue to follow.
Awesome. Favorite podcast?
I've been on Bear Nutrition BPN. I've been listening to his podcast lately.
He's got good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's had anyone from Luke to I don't want to mess up the names, but Zelder, I think, is the country singer.
Okay.
But just anywhere, like, again, talk about just different personalities, different lifestyles. Warren Zelder, I think, is his name. But again, country singer turned kind of hybrid athlete, runner. How this country artist on tour and living a crazy lifestyle is able to, live that, healthy lifestyle as well.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. Yeah, he's done an incredible job from the content, living the lifestyle and actually putting out great content. That's a great answer. Favorite books could be something that's like, I know you've just finished, or a year out. Are you a year out for ATC?
Yeah. Graduated last spring, so yes.
So maybe it was a textbook, but any books or podcast or audio books or anything you've liked recently?
Yeah, I've a lot of self-help books.
Nice.
A Year of Yes is a really good one.
Cool.
It sounds aggressive with the name a little bit, but How to Overcome the Fear of Dating. It's a really good book about how to socialize in general. I'd say 90% of it is how to talk to strangers, and 10% of it is how to navigate the dating scene. And
cool.
I have one right now as well.
Oh, you were ready for this.
Yeah.
You were ready
just
because
I was like, this book has been really good. I've read so much about it, or I've read it a lot recently.
Yeah.
Gone back, read chapter after chapter, but The Happiness Advantage as well is a really good one.
Love it.
So,
all right, we got it on the camera right
there
here.
you
Happiness Advantage.
But that's I would say my favorite book at the moment. I brought it because I was going to quote some stuff from it.
Beautiful.
And I didn't want to mess up. Author is Sean Acker, and I knew I would mess it up if I didn't bring the book with me.
Nice. Okay. Happy and so good you brought it with you.
Yep.
I love it. Okay. Last time you had mentioned, I don't know if you remember, Michael Phelps' trainer, Keep an Athlete.
Yeah, that was I would say one of my first reads. So
cool.
Again, at the time,
was
I was barely reading. So, but
fair enough.
But again, yeah, another good book there.
And then the Dale Carnegie favorite, How to Win Friends, Influence People.
Yeah,
a great book. Yeah,
I would say the fear or overcoming the fear of dating is a newer kind of twist to that. I would say it's very similar to that.
Beautiful. Anywhere you've been recently for travel?
Just went to Nashville 2 weeks ago.
Nice. You went to Nashville last time.
I think it was my bucket list. It's always been my bucket list. I never pulled the trigger on it.
Okay. Maybe you talked about going. All right.
I had a late night, couldn't sleep like 2 months ago, and I was like, all right, I'm booking a trip to Nashville. It's been my number one spot forever. So yeah, I just went to Nashville.
How was it?
It's great, man. It was
That's
awesome. Definitely exciting. It wasn't as busy as I thought it was. I would say first floor and fifth floor of all the bars were packed, but floors 2, 3, 4, you had space. You could listen to good music and not be throwing elbows. So it was a fun time, man. A lot of good music, a lot of good artists.
You a music guy?
Yeah.
Big music guy?
Yeah.
That's cool. I think maybe you're right. I think I had written down Nashville in the outline from looking from last time, but I think it was on any travel plans.
Yeah.
I think that's where my question was. So I'll ask that again. Any plans coming up? Any travel plans?
I know the family wants to go to Hawaii.
Cool.
My parents have done a really good job about traveling. They've traveled a lot more than I have.
Nice.
But that's kind of the big family trip. Hopefully by the end of the year is Hawaii.
That's awesome.
So if we do a podcast next year, hopefully that's what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I was just in Hawaii. That would be great. That's a bucket list for me too. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of get into the meat potatoes a little bit. Our last episode, if people do want to look back at it, I have it pulled up right. Or I had it pulled up. Number 57. We're over 100 at this point, so you have to scroll back a decent amount. But 57 was a great episode. We talked about quite a few different things, but we're going to expand upon that today. But give the people just a quick elevator pitch background and kind of your athletic history and kind of where you're at right now with your career.
Yeah, I was a college athlete. I played Division II baseball at New Haven in Connecticut. Dabbled with or battled with knee injuries. So that's how I got introduced to athletic training. Once I graduated, I still didn't really necessarily know which kind of specific route I wanted to go. I did personal training right when I graduated, and then kind of went into sports performance, strength and conditioning, but then committed to grad school at Merrimack for athletic training, and been an athletic trainer for the last year now since graduating last spring, which is crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're over at UMass Boston?
Yes, I work at UMass Boston, one of the 3 athletic trainers there.
Very cool. And you were there today?
Took the day off today because of the rain. But
Gotcha.
I've been there through the summer and take the train up, enjoy the day in the train. But
so for the people who aren't super familiar with the athletic training profession career, they maybe thinking, like taping ankles, like sitting on sidelines. Like what's your day to day or kind of week look like at UMass Boston? Maybe in season.
Yeah, no, it still has those aspects of the traditional athletic trainer of taping ankles, writing rehab plans, but this newer kind of form of athletic training is really a lot of sports performance. It's just kind of as the setup we have right now for the listeners. We're in this kind of small little gym setup, but that's what an athletic training room kind of consists of now. It has weights, it has kettlebells, it has dumbbells, it has bands, and it has a couple machines as well. So it's providing rehab and almost kind of preventative care as well. It's not just your ankle sprains, your ACLs. It's also aches, pains, and we just got dry needling certified at UMass Boston.
Nice.
A month ago. So we can dry needle, we can cup. So it's far beyond just the traditional athletic training mindset of taping ankles and doing soft tissue work, but it's also exercise as well and preventative care.
Very cool. And one of the things we talked about briefly off air was kind of how the differences with athletic training, like how it used to be to how it is now. And is it a lot of those things you kind of just mentioned? It's like we're moving towards that sports performance, rehab side of things?
I think it's an ebb and flow. I think obviously in the AT industry, anyone who's involved in it, there's this, the salary and, being overworked and, it's a tough grind. But I think we're in this weird but exciting position where there's traditional values and that traditional concept, but a lot of athletic trainers are getting these really good backgrounds in sports performance. So, they're working with coaches, working with strength and conditioning coaches to, not only get the athlete, let's say an ankle sprain happens, but not only getting them back to healthy, but almost returning them back and then even better. It's getting them back to, yes, being able to physically be 100%, but, I work with lacrosse. It's being able to get them to cut, jump, and do those as well, right? Where, athletic trainers have, if we're lucky, we have equipment like force plates and these other metrics as well that we can, again, get them back and even better. And that's that sports performance concept. So it's a weird spot right now. I know there's talks about athletic training, the name getting changed a little bit to,
really?
A performance trainer or something different like that.
Sure.
But it's, again, a very exciting spot where a lot of athletic trainers graduating and newer in the field like myself, we're providing a very good product to these athletes. It's college, high school, private sector. It's a really exciting time.
That's cool. And I think we had talked a little bit also off air how you're doing full time over at UMass Boston, and you have a couple other like side gigs that you're also trying to pursue or for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Are you at Athletes Acceleration being one of them?
Yeah, a gym in North Attleboro called Athletes Acceleration. It's a really good relationship I have with them in the sense of I've worked with them for 2 years. So once I moved back from Pennsylvania, it was a very good relationship I've always had with them and getting back into it. But it's for me a good opportunity just to grow. It's
sure.
Still being only going into year 2 of athletic training, the more hands-on I can get, the more I can work with athletes and see all these different things from Division I college to middle school to youth athletes. It's kind of, again, developing my toolbox on what I've seen and how I approach things, and I'm always jotting things down. It's this worked, this didn't work, and moving forward, learning and growing from that. But yeah.
You're a scientist.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's I'll be the first to admit there's plenty of times where I could have done something better or changed this, but
sure.
It's just trying to give these athletes the best and
cool.
and putting the ego aside and being like, hey, this didn't work, but for next time, this is how I'm going to approach it.
And Athletes Acceleration, is it just that one location? Do they have multiple locations?
There is multiple locations.
Yeah.
I think I don't really know of any other locations really close to us or
sure.
in New England.
Okay,
but
you're the one that's right there, and that's in North Attleboro.
Correct. Yep.
And it seems to me like I've never been there. I should come by and check it out.
We gotta get you in there.
But it seems to me like it's a very like, hey, this is a sports, like you said, youth, high school, college, beyond like focused gym where we're working on like some of the sports traits, not just your traditional like bodybuilding sport like strength training. Like we're really pursuing like just looking at the videos, like you get turf section, you have like the jump pads, you have all that stuff there.
Yeah, I mean every time we get a phone call and I answer the phone, the big thing is the turf takes up half the gym. And even just looking at the sessions, so the sessions for the athletes are an hour long. 30 minutes of that is on the turf, and 30 minutes of that is in the weight room.
Sure.
But again, we're not just we're strength training, obviously, and we want to build a good foundation and check all the boxes, but we're doing 30 minutes of athletic movement, agility, power, not just strength, but acceleration, deceleration. And 30 minutes of that of their session is with med ball works, jumps, getting and making sure that foundation in the athlete side of things is definitely, we're developing a really good foundation there.
That's really cool. Do you see a lot of, and I want to ask kind of the same question at UMass Boston, but for athlete acceleration, do you see a lot of like, either kids that are or athletes that are there year round, or you get a lot of like a seasonal, like, hey, I'm off season, let me just crush it in the gym with you guys for a little while, and then I'll kind of like sprinkle in here and there, or it comes in waves a little bit? Yeah,
it's seasonal. I mean, these kids are on like 3 or 4 different teams, and even just like for football players, we have youth middle school football players who play year round now in football, which I've never heard of.
That's insane.
Definitely not a thing when we were growing up.
It's a lot on your body, especially in football.
Yep, absolutely, and that's what we're seeing, and that's down the road, kind of what we're seeing a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But yes, it's very seasonal, more so for their schedules.
Sure.
It's if these kids are on 3 teams, 3 soccer teams. We don't need to throw on, getting in 3 gym sessions, right? They're already doing so much. But when their schedules do settle down a little bit, and that's why the summertime's great, a lot of the schedules settle down, families' schedules settle down, we get a lot of our athletes in the summer.
And this is an interesting question for you. at both UMass Dartmouth and UMass Boston and Athlete Acceleration, do you kind of find yourself, especially maybe with the younger kids who are doing a lot of these like year-round sports, like kind of helping them, guide them as them and their parents, I'm sure many times, like through like, hey, this is too much volume. This is, pick up the slack a little bit here, or like help them quarterback like how to navigate their seasons from like a gym, field workouts and like practices and different sports.
Yeah, it's showing them the mirror a little bit.
Sure.
It's a lot of these kids are in youth or middle school, and they're so tired all the time, and they don't have as big of a smile as they should be doing some of the things that they should enjoy.
That's going to be a telltale sign.
Yeah, so that is part of the job, and something that we do try to do is have those conversations. We don't ever tell anyone how things should be going or how they need to approach things, but it's having conversations. We do a little bit of data analytics there, so showing them some data, especially in the off season, showing them, hey, when things do calm down a little bit, this athlete is performing at a very high level, and if we can kind of keep that rolling, that's great. But also, we have some connections as well, and when we talk to coaches, and we obviously have college athletes, and we're in some connections there, but also just telling some of these athletes, like, hey, as long as if you perform and you do the things that you're supposed to, you don't need to continuously, twice a month spend thousands of dollars on a showcase camp. Do the things that you're supposed to. Be a good athlete, be the best version of yourself, and a lot will play out for itself. And on our end, we can, put you in touch with some, who we know, and try to, get our network out there as well.
Totally. And I think, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I think when I extrapolate that to like two sports that I'm somewhat familiar with, which is like Olympic style weightlifting and running, it's like if you're constantly just doing races or constantly just doing competitions, you're not giving yourself like those like weeks and weeks and weeks where you just like build foundations.
Yeah.
So if you're just like game all year, it's like, all right, when are we actually building strength? Like when are we building skills?
Correct. If your every run that you do is an RPA 9, or your Olympic lifting, you're doing a 1 rep max every time you're in the gym, you're going to, plateau and usually kind of falter off a little bit. So it's the same way, right?
Gotcha. And then kind of along the same lines with UMass Boston. So like you said, during the school year with the sports, are you lacrosse is your main sport?
Yeah, so I worked women's lacrosse last spring. I think I'm transitioning to men's lacrosse, but we'll just generally say lacrosse. For my spring sport, and then volleyball for fall and men's basketball for winter.
Cool. And so when you're over there, I'm sure in many ways it's probably nice to have athlete acceleration because that I'm guessing will pick up a little bit during the off season when you're maybe a little bit less busy at UMass Boston and maybe vice versa a little bit. So somewhat of like a cyclical, like, hey, it's in season, like, all right, here's my like 50, 60, 70 hour weeks coming in is like.
Fortunately, I don't really. That's not the again. What makes UMass Boston a Division III college great is that really isn't the case.
Nice.
These athletes, and we're talking about. What the season looks like for some of the athletes, where lacrosse in the fall, they're grinding, they're working hard, but they're not overdoing it. And that's something that I have loved at UMass Boston is these athletes are there because they love the sport. They love what they do. The coaches do a great job of being good leaders and leading that team into, hey, we're going to be successful, we're going to work hard, but we're going to have fun doing it. And it is something that, as I interviewed, at the college level and took a couple of these, college interviews, was at the D1 level, it's like, hey, this is nonstop. Like these kids go nonstop, you go nonstop, the coaches go nonstop, which is fine. Again, I'm not here to bash. It's just for me personally, I think, at UMass Boston, the D3 level has been something that is a very good fit. It gives me balance. The kids are there because they want to have fun, and they do have fun.
So take me through maybe like an average day, like in season, like wake up. How does your day kind of like look for you? Maybe like on a game day or weekday.
I'll use the spring. So the spring women's lacrosse practiced early, so it was an early morning. Any athlete who needed kind of last minute, if they needed to be taped, if they had something that they wanted to check up on, 30 minutes before practice, then we head out to practice. I'm there on the field with them, working with them and helping when I can. But then after practice, it's usually just by appointment. So whenever the athletes are on their schedule, when they need to eat, go shower, study, all that, kind of when they can come in and see me, and that was until about like 3 or 4 o'clock. So again, not a super long day.
Not bad, yeah.
Yeah, and the athletes are usually really good about coming in right after practice. So there's only just kind of a few stragglers towards the later part of the day, but it's pretty efficient. Again, the athletes do a very good job communicating with me. Hey, I'm going to come in right after practice. I'll be in at noon. I'll be in at 1. And then it's kind of by appointment at that point.
Nice. It kind of makes sense. Like they want to get in and get their, their work done or hands-on work or rehab work or performance work, like somewhat close to like when they were getting like the practice or the game times. So they don't have to like maybe shower twice in the day or just get it all kind of like, get it all done like in one day. Okay, that's really cool. I know because I've heard obviously horror stories too of like just for athletic training schedules where it's just like.
Yeah, and it's for some people. It definitely is for some people. When I was an athletic training student at Boston College, that's a great example where that's a 7-7 day. And the ATs there love it. They love football. They love college football. They love Division I football. So it's definitely a good fit for ATs that have that background and love that environment. But yes, it can lead to horror stories, but it comes down to really just communication as a team with the coaches. Hey, we're going to practice at this time. The strength staff being like, hey, lift's going to be at this time, and kind of working around that.
Oh, that's cool. I had a couple. Well, let's talk about the advanced rehab cert.
Yeah.
Next. So something you had messaged me, and I talked a little about that you ran your first cohort. Was it earlier this year? Was it 2025 or maybe late 2024?
I ran my first cohort in February, and I just finished my second one earlier or late last month, so in June. So my first cohort was February, second cohort was in June. Both were super successful.
That's awesome.
But I've been a student in 2 cohorts. So Tyler, who started it, who used to be with men's basketball at UCLA, Tyler Lesher. He recently just left UCLA to work with a former player that he has that is in the NBA.
Cool.
But he started it. Same thing, strength and conditioning, sports performance background, AT, who combines all the worlds together and provides a really good product. Thought that athletic training as an industry and as a career could really kind of up it to that, we're not just getting athletes healthy, but we're getting athletes better. We're getting them stronger, faster. So that's the whole advanced rehab course. He's taught, I think, 10 cohorts, but there's now 4 or 5 instructors. I'm one of them, and
that's awesome.
We're all getting cohorts out every month, and it's great to see this, what we call our community building and growing. And again, what Tyler has built is incredible, and who he's brought in, whether it's Dan Foley, it's Dan Braun, and all these other big names are just, it's incredible. It's growing, and it's really good for all of the industries. It's good for strength and conditioning, it's good for personal training, it's good for athletic training, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
That's cool. And like you said, it's like this isn't just a athletic training cert. It's for all like physical therapy, personal training, athletic training, like multidisciplinary, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. The continuing eds are for athletic training and the physical therapist, but we've had plenty of personal trainers take it. My first cohort, I had 2 strength and conditioning coaches take it, and everyone's benefited from it because, again, it's sports performance. That's really what it is.
Right.
And then you take what you need from the class and utilize it when you can,
nice.
or with what you can from there. But yeah, it's for everyone, and it's been very successful for all industries.
That's cool. And it's like, especially as a PT, obviously there's many things I can learn from different PTs, but when talking to someone who's like in a slightly like adjunct style field and can look at things from like a slightly different way, there's so much learning that can happen there. It's like a different set of eyes, like a different person, different field. Like there's so much carryover from what I need to do with my clients, my patients, but just seen from a different view, which is really cool.
It's just really cool to see how different people approach a different problem, and it's just and how also like the niche specialties of Dan Foley and how he works with his athletes and how he approaches things, and how he does hands-on work at the track versus Tyler, who's worked with Division I, very high-level Division I basketball players, and how he works with those athletes and how he handles that. And it's again, he's at the college level versus someone who's private sector, and they get to do this and they get to handle it that way. It's really cool.
Sure. No, that's awesome, and that's true as well. Now that you're saying that, is like private sector versus pro sport versus like college sport, like that style of treatment can be so different. Yeah. Just one from like the type of clientele you're getting in, like what they expect, and like how you have to treat them. So like again, learning from a different perspective on that is huge.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's again there's a bunch of, I say old school, but there's techniques that have been used for decades that are still so successful and been passed down and aren't in the textbook. And when you see someone do that, you're like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down. Write it down. Write it down.
Yeah, there's just gold nuggets everywhere. No, that's really cool. So you've done a second cohort just happened.
Yep, just finished.
You took the course yourself under. How did that? So you took the course, loved it, and then were able to like basically link up with Tyler and be like, hey, I want to help how I can.
Yeah,
share my knowledge.
I took it right before I graduated from AT school, and I think it was great because we were given so much information in school.
Sure.
And I, again, coming from the sports performance background, I struggled with like, all right, well, how do I take what I have knowledge and skill with and take what I've been taught for 2 years out of the textbook and combine it? And then I took the course. It was huge for me. And then Tyler posted on Instagram. He was like, hey, for anyone who's taken the course, I'm looking for a couple instructors if anyone's interested.
Cool.
There was an interview process. And then as that panned out, he was like, hey, we've changed a lot of the material since you guys have taken your cohorts.
Sure.
I need you guys to hop in the newest cohort. So then I took the cohort again with the updated material and then been teaching since.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's science.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll change again.
Absolutely.
It always a revolving door.
It always is. And Tyler's been... what I love and really like about Tyler is he's let the instructors kind of also add their spin to it. So
sure.
For some of the other instructors who've been in the industry for a little bit longer, they've taken I know that they've added a couple slides or kind of what they do for foot and ankle because they've spent so much time with foot and ankle injuries and how they approach that. But for me, I talked a lot with my most recent cohort about sports performance, how to kind of have this sports performance mindset of, again, not just getting back to healthy, but really getting these athletes to an elite level no matter how old they are.
Very cool.
And how we can do that as athletic trainers. So I really like how not only is the information growing, but now the personalities engaged in the ARC family get to kind of throw their personalities into it.
That's cool. And as far as the cohorts, was it I remember we talked about it before a little bit, but is it in person? Is it online, or is there a combination of the two? Or?
All virtual,
Yep.
So it is recorded. Usually 1 or 2 people per cohort just kind of like to sit back and do just the recordings. But
sure.
They're 90-minute Zoom lectures throughout the course of a week, so it's 4 days in a row.
Wow.
It's very kind of intensive in that case, but
I kind of like that though.
Yeah, but
just get it all done at the same time.
Yeah. My last cohort recently was just 2 other athletic trainers. So it was very personable. That's what I liked as well. Yes, at times was I sharing and teaching the information, but for a lot of the times over the 4 days, it was also just an open discussion. It's, how do you guys do this? How do you approach this?
Yeah.
What do you think about this? And the 3 of us, how can we kind of get to an agreement or have an open discussion about this? So it was really personable in that sense.
Like, hey, I do it this way, this works. I do it this way, this works. And you can have a collaboration like approach. Like, okay, cool. Like that's so much with the rehab world. And let me know if you agree on this or not. But there obviously is so much science, ever evolving science. But how you apply that is really the art. Yeah. Like what am I going to choose for this person? Like a lot of the research. Like I was talking to somebody today. It's like if you look at so I'm not sure if you guys have something similar with the ATC, but in the PT journal. They put out clinical practice guidelines. Yep. So like plantar fasciitis, so I think it was last updated 2014 or something like that. They put out like guidelines where they skimmed all the literature on PubMed or whatever, and they'll write each treatment or modality like dry needling, stretching, strengthening, like shockwave, orthotics, and then based on all the information they've done, they'll grade it.
Yep.
So like A would be like your perfect like lab style experiment, like I mix vinegar and baking soda, and it's like very, very like nothing gets an A.
Yep.
Like A is like education. Yeah, everyone gets but everything else is kind of in that gray area a little bit because it's so hard to like test humans in the real world.
Yep.
So you get all this kind of like B's, C's, D's, and then like some of it's like this absolutely doesn't work, so they'll put that stuff on there. But like that's like it's all kind of like all this stuff works, but it's like where you apply it can sometimes be make it better or worse. So it's a tough field for that aspect. So you get that art and science like combination.
Oh yeah, it's that's the job day in and day out. But it is in the ARC. I talk about being an artist. It's here's the guidelines, and I kind of give general rehab rehab outlines of, maybe start with isos and then
Sure.
eccentrics and then concentrics. But from there, it's what you throw in, what isos you throw in, what angles you throw in. That's being the artist, man. It's paint the picture right there.
Yeah. I find myself all the time when I'm working with clients too. Maybe if you do this too, but like I'm teaching them an exercise, and because of how they're presenting or how I teach it in a different way than I've ever taught it ever before, and it works well. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I guess that was a little experiment, and it worked out.
Yep. You're grabbing bands. You're giving external cues.
Like,
you're
you know what? Let me do it this way, and then I'm like, yeah, of course. We always do it that way.
Yep. It's analogies, metaphors.
Yeah,
it's like whatever. Yeah, that's how it is with the youth athletes, man. It's like the analogies that we come up with, and what I hear from my coworkers is like, "Did you just come up with that?" And they're like, "Yeah, that was kind of good, right? Write that down."
Yeah, even like the analogy and how you say something. Like, oh, I'm stealing that. That's good.
Yep.
That's a benefit too, I guess. Like I'm lucky enough that I just had my first PT hire not too long ago, so I'll have some of that collaboration again. But a lot of my collaboration has been like with the gyms I'm in. Like I'm at Rise Strength here, so with the trainers like Henry and some of the guys here, or at Bullfrog Fit, the trainers there, which is great. Obviously, multidisciplinary collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, to be in a place like UMass Boston or Athlete Acceleration, where you're surrounded by other athletic trainers, both at Athlete Acceleration too.
Just me
Okay, cool.
on the athletic training side of things. We have 3 strength and conditioning coaches at Athlete Acceleration, but I'm the only AT there.
But yeah, the team is unreal.
Yeah.
The collaboration is unreal with that.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a couple data points, or bullet points, I should say. Well, data points too, that I pulled from your Instagram that somewhat recently, and you've been crushing the Instagram. You always do.
Yeah,
you always do.
We've been good. We've been good. So athletes, I've been posting for athletes, and we've been trying to get a post out almost every day. And
nice.
It's huge. It's huge. It's crazy to take detoxes from Instagram and social media, and then at other points really dive into posting a lot.
It's an effort.
It is.
It's tough.
I'll use my buddy. So my buddy Nate plays for one of the teams in the Savannah Banana League. He plays for the Party Animals.
Nice.
But it's crazy because he never used to post on Instagram.
Sure.
But with his contract and the ins and outs of being in that realm,
he's
posting all the time on TikTok. And
wow.
it's not just just baseball content.
Sure,
obviously, his TikTok is him doing dances and skits and all that. But he's been crushing it. And he went from the traditional number of likes and views to he exploded.
Wow.
And I reached out to him. And I was like, hey man, how is that? How did you get there? And he's like, consistency, man.
Just keep doing it.
It's just you got to put content out, and the algorithm one of those days grabs you, and once you're in, you're in. But it's been fun. It's been really cool, and I feel a lot more confident with what I'm posting as well. So that's a huge part.
I like your approach.
Yeah.
I like your approach a lot. As I was skimming through, I'm like, I like your videos. They're it's simple, digestible, with a good bullet point of here's the message.
Yep.
And it's a lot of the stuff I'll see, minded businesses posting, I'm like, damn, they gotta have a whole fucking video crew. That's gonna be hours and hours and a lot of money to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think finding the simple, don't get me wrong, it's your production quality is great, but it's simple and it's to the point and it's digestible, and I like that.
I try to keep it to the outline. We just talked about it's great, and people put out a lot of very specific exercises, and this is that one exercise to fix that, and that's great. But for me, it's just I'm trying to put general stuff out there so people can take concepts and then apply it to, again, whether they're a strength coach, whether they're a personal trainer, whether they're an athletic trainer, or whatever, or even if they're a coach, they can at least take the concepts from my Instagram and apply it to whatever they need it for.
That's the tough thing about social media too, is I feel like it can be somewhat easy to fall into the trap of all right, what's going to get me the most likes?
Yep.
Which is a lot of times is that kind of black and white, really don't do this exercise or your back's going to explode type content. It's which unfortunately that's the stuff that rises to the top because it just gets tons of clicks and tons of views and tons of comments, and the algorithm just pushes it up and up and up.
Yep.
So if you're putting some more of thought-provoking, nuanced, accurate, for better terms, content out there, it tends to simmer more, not quite to the top, more in the middle towards the bottom. But I mean that's the more the ethical thing to do, really. And the more probably helpful for athletes in the long run anyway.
And also, again, it's your brand. I think in the first podcast, one of the Instagram we talked about was Squat University, I'm sure.
Yes.
But same thing. Like, that's his platform is, what, a 5-second clip catching your attention. I saw it today.
Dude, he's been pushing the limits a little bit.
He definitely has.
His content's good, though.
Yes,
his content's good.
And he knows what he's talking about.
He
knows what he's talking about. But he even admits, like, that 5-second clip is to always grab your attention, and then the rest is always good quality. But
there's a lot of spandex and booty scrunch leggings to start the clip. There's it gets the people's attention. But then it's good information.
Again, he knows it grabs your attention. Now that I have you in here, let me provide the info that I had. But
he's figured out the social media game for sure.
He has, that's for sure. That is for sure.
And unfortunately, I mean, not to beat this point to death, but a lot of the big influencers, that's probably the best thing to call them, in the fitness industry over the past, especially past like 2-3 years, are really those like super polarizing figures. Like obviously Liver King is the big one that jumps out. It's like it's so tough because like people looking for fitness advice online, like what's the first thing they're gonna see is the person with the most followers, and that's what they're like, oh, eat liver and. I don't know. I forgot what else. I don't remember what he was saying. He was saying some wild
natural,
shit.
No shoes, all with the earth, and carry big rocks and boulders, and
which cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, that can be tough. Like I don't know if it'll ever. Hopefully, it'll get better to where like those won't be like here's the fitness and health industry and here's our figures, and like those type of people aren't going to be like the poster boys and girls for hopefully there's a way the algorithm or social media, or I don't know, maybe there's a different way to I don't know, reinvent like the Mount Rushmore of like fitness people without having to like have that content, like, but who knows what the future holds. Maybe it'll just get worse. I don't know.
I will say with my college athletes, they're always sending me stuff and they're like, is this true? Does this work? Because that's the thing is they have a acre pain that we need to chip away and work at, and they go on Instagram and it's like how to cure your ankle pain in one day. It's like, oh, I wish it would be that simple, man. My job would be so much easier.
Well, that's a big props to you, because like they're looking at this stuff and they're probably having a critical eye about it, and like, who's an expert on this is Dylon. Yeah. Let me ask Dylon about this, because he'll know. And so that's good on them and good on you.
Yeah, and I'm always there to explain and talk to them like, hey, like I'm not there to bash, right? They're being open, and that's the thing is I don't want to just be like, no, what are you, stupid? Like that's dumb as all hell.
Right.
Like, you're not gonna have any communication after that. But with nutrition and some other stuff, like that's the thing. There's, they're selling supplements on TikTok Shop, which is insane to me. But
sure.
But that's the thing is, again, it's anytime you have those conversations, it's a great opportunity just to educate. Like it's, we can use this stuff. And one of those things are, if it's, I'll be honest, there's been a few times where I've looked at an athlete, I'm like, if we want to throw this in your plan, we totally can. If I don't think it's not going to hurt you, and it's something that I maybe wouldn't program or prescribe, but like if it's something that you really want to do or try, like let's work as a team to at least try it. But
100%.
Yes, if I could heal ankle sprains with one exercise, if I could cure all patella tendonitis with one exercise, then my job would be so much easier.
No, I'm the same way. Like if someone comes to me, like, and this happens all the time, it's like, hey, here's the exercises I found online, and sometimes I'll be like, this is the exercise I found on TikTok. And a lot of times it's like, those might be good, but let's wait on those, or those might be good at a different point, or just don't do those at all. But sometimes I'm like, actually, that's exactly the perfect exercise you should. So once in a while, it's like, actually, that is good. Like, but I'll also tell them, like, that doesn't mean this in this very specific scenario. Yes, you found the right exercise, but like, that doesn't mean every ankle sprain or whatever needs this. Like, it's very individualized. So I'm like, good job, but don't say like this is the only. This is the golden exercise for all ankle sprains. Like, that's not necessarily true.
The example I'll use is. One of my coworkers at Athlete Acceleration has been dealing with forearm pain, and I saw an Instagram of a guy who was like, I can fix your forearm pain in 30 seconds. And he was like, it's nerve pain, and you got to do a reverse lunge with a nerve floss. And I was like, again, there's concepts to it, right? He's taking nerve flossing and stuff like that.
Sure.
There's so many individuals dealing with forearm pain that if that 30 seconds of that exercise would not cure them all.
Imagine the whole world just gets cured of forearm pain.
By doing a lower body reverse lunge. That would be great.
Oh, that's crazy. All right, well, let's get into the stuff that works. So For the first bullet point that I pulled, which this kind of goes into both what you were saying, kind of the future of athletic training and what you're doing over at Athletes Acceleration, which I didn't mention, but I met one of your coworkers at the recent NSCA conference that we had back in Rhode Island.
Pat?
It was probably Pat, yeah.
Taller guy?
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
So how do you program or give me the general, I guess, like elevator pitch or whatever, like programming athleticism for let's say the athlete instead of just like just purely, because I think back in the day purely just strength training was kind of like the focus, which nothing wrong with that obviously, but how do you go about like I mean, obviously this will give you a case scenario, like somebody in the off season, football player, let's say high schooler, what would be your like general like perfect scenario, like how am I programming like athleticism instead of just purely just like strength training for someone like that?
Yeah, I think for anyone listening who works with athletes and has that question, is just make things fun. Like it was, strength training has exploded and it's huge now. And what's also great with it is athletes are loving lifting and getting strong, which is perfect. Yeah. But we've gotten away from activities, exercise, getting outside and doing things, but we can combine the two. Even at Athletes Acceleration, which is again half the gym is turf and half of it is a weight room, where we can do, use vector balls, we can use different colored balls or bands or whatever. And I'll use an example. We did depth jumps in our program with the athletes recently, and how we made it fun and more athletic, or providing an athleticism aspect to it, was when they hit the ground, we held up a number and they had to call out that number. So it's, again,
like reaction time.
Strength training's great, but we're getting into this position where everything is too controlled. It's too controlled of an environment. So that's, again, another big concept of, are you training in a very specific controlled environment, or is it uncontrollable? Are you reacting off of me? Are you reacting off of a color or a screen or whatever? Another, person that I follow who's great is Big Cat University as well. And I enrolled in his rehab course for ACL rehab, and he talks a lot about how a huge concept and what might be leading to some of these re-injury of ACL patients is not adding a neuro or cognitive or training to rehab. So he uses Stroop cards, which are the cards that, it says red, but the letters are blue and the background is green.
Cool.
Or even using, again, a vector ball, a ball that bounces and it turns red or it turns yellow. And but adding these components to it, or even the simplest one he does is obviously quad sets, post-op ACL, that needs to do quad sets of once they have good muscle contraction there, but they do their quad sets to a metronome. So varying the speed at which the metronome's going off of. So not only are you mindlessly doing, just quad sets for 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 25, we're going to do it for 2 minutes, and a minute in, that metronome's going to switch, and you need to contract it longer. And so you got to focus it, and then you progress that into, again, reacting off a set go call off a coach versus just going, or I change my cadence of a set go call, or again, getting something else. But that is how we can take, again, just kind of general training and make it athletic or challenging athleticism. It's not the biggest, strongest, fastest, highest jumping athlete isn't the most athletic. It's the athlete who, in my eyes, you can put them in different environments. And again, if we go back to environments, it's anyone who trains in an uncontrolled environment with a lot of stimulus and they can handle that is usually going to be athletic, versus the athlete who, I played baseball. There was a huge difference between batting practice hitters and game hitters, right? I knew plenty of people who were really good at hitting off the tee, but the second curveballs and fastballs and changeups were thrown into it, their athleticism kind of dwindled a little bit, right? So that's a big component, is adding these different stimulus to it, but make it fun, right? Training should be fun. That's why I enjoy doing what I do. Whether it's UMass Boston or Athlete Acceleration, is making training, whether it's athletic training or more strength conditioning, making it fun, right? And that's, again, going back to our conversation of like these athletes who are on 3 teams and have 8 practices throughout the week or 2 practices a day. They look forward to coming into the gym not to just PR or lift 500 pounds, but a big thing that gets them in the door every day is the conversations with us, the conversations with their the other people in the class and
Yeah.
having fun throughout the class as well. So I
That's
think
cool.
to touch on it, it's just is getting things uncontrollable a little bit.
Yeah, I like that from a CrossFit background where I came from. A big component of on the main page HQ mantra is provide the athletes with the best hour of their day.
Yeah.
Which sounds exactly like what you're saying is like best hour, the best time, probably about an hour for most people of their day, which a lot of times is like, if someone's in the gym working out super hard, how can that be like the best? Like it almost is like counterintuitive a little bit, like oh, working out is tough, it's hard, like you don't feel good doing it, like but it's true, like it is kind of fun to like move your body and like you see your teammates and work hard, like quote unquote suffer together through some hard workouts.
Yeah.
Like you feel good afterwards. So it is like for me, like when I'm like my day to day, like my favorite part of the day is when I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
For a lot of people who are in that athletic position. So that is really cool to hear that. So like making the fitness part of with the performance part, sport, like making that still have notes of, even if it is a harder workout, long workout, have fun in some ways, like find ways to like, hey, here's the high point, even if it is like all right, this is gonna be a tough one, guys, like maybe it's just the afterwards, like dapping hands, like, hey, we did it, something like that. Yeah.
So at Athletes, we also do adult classes, and in the adult class I programmed last month was the assault bike to finish off the workout. So anyone who's
that's not
no,
fun,
not at all. Anyone who's done the assault bike, not fun at all. But one thing that I did was I took out a deck of cards. I said, if you pull a black card, you're going for a 30-second sprint. If you got a red card, you got a minute, nice and easy on coast. So again,
I love that.
It's hard, but it's adding that, like, they were all fun. There were laughs.
Yeah.
It was like, drum roll, please, before pulling a card. Like, the energy totally different than if I was like, hey, hop on the assault bike. We got, 3 30-second sprints. And everyone's like, oh, no, we got the assault bike. Versus, like, this, again, the adults getting up there, drum roll. Oh, I got red. I got to do this. You know what I'm saying? So just again, making it fun. It can be the same work can be done, but how you approach it and these little changes make all the difference.
Totally. Kind of a like that was a great answer, by the way. Kind of in the weeds, like programming question. I know for the most part it depends, but let's say you get like private sector, your average Joe comes in, wants to be more athletic, like, and wants to know, like, all right, I'm doing my strength training, I'm doing my push pull legs.
Yeah.
That's the most common workout split. How can I inject some like athleticism, and he's starting from a baseline of like 0.
Yep.
Like, how can I inject some like athleticism? What would be like some easy go-to drills like you could throw it at him?
I would say a med ball is pretty foundational, right? You don't have to take a very heavy med ball to do a slam or to do an overhead throw.
Sure.
Just things like that, where again, getting an object in their hand of, maybe with a tennis ball, right? They do a single leg balance with a bounce with a tennis ball. Where again, we're getting into that. Give an object, and then give them a task that is challenging, and they have to think about it. Again, you can do, if balance is not their thing, you can go into a wall sit with a bounce. You can do any of those, tossing back and forth. For any athlete, again, getting into the general adult population of, it's really nice for us to see them start to jump as well. And again, we modify. It's always regress and progress, where, just like our athletes who are doing their super explosive high jumps with the bands is, let's take an athlete, two thick purple bands, they pull it to their chest, so they're not really doing a lot of the work, and they give me small little hops. But again, when's an adult at the age of 50 plus, when's the last time they've hopped? When's the last time they've jumped, right? I think the statistic is 60% of people don't ever, do a vertical jump after the age of 50. I think I read somewhere that's the case, right?
I believe it.
You take general population, right? I guess I would say 50% aren't ever doing a vertical jump after the age of 50. Getting an adult to, or just any, general pop to start to jump and run. And, back in my personal training days, I remember I think she was 70 years old, but she came in, and someone was like, busting her chops. Because, again, you talk about the family environment, the team environment. Someone's like, let's say her name's Nancy. Her name was not Nancy, but let's say her name's Nancy. Nancy, you're only benching the 10s today. And, we joke and we laugh, and it's great. But, she kind of looked at me after, and she was like, the reason I come in here is to play with my grandchild.
Sure.
You know, it's fun to toss the tennis ball with him.
Yeah.
And to know that I can catch a tennis ball and it's not going to smack me in the face. Because
Sure.
we did. We took little tennis balls and we tossed and we hit the numbers. And
Yeah.
Again, did it
Skill
make
acquisition?
No, yeah, exactly. Are we getting away from squats and deadlifts a little bit? Yeah, but for the grand scheme of things, she's able to play with her grandchild and she feels good about it, and that's that's her why.
That's the goal. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, to your point, like there's a speaking of the capacity, the ability to do these hops and runs and stuff like that. This guy I was working with a while ago, and he's like, yeah, like I don't necessarily. He goes, I don't want to run. I don't like running, but I would like to be able to run if I had to.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, we can work with that. He's like, just not to give a morbid scenario. He goes, if there's an active shooter in this building right now, I don't want to be the last one. I want to be able to huff it if I have to. I'm like that's a valid thing to want to be able to do. That's a valid capacity to be able to hold. So
yeah, and even again with my older population of personal training, like I did some sort of push-up variation because any of them, if they fell down, I want to know that I and they feel comfortable to at least get up off the ground. Like that is huge. Like if they can't get up off the ground, that's not great. That's not okay. So, but yes, it is. Again, you don't need to be a runner. We don't need to be running miles a week and the capacity to build that throughout the week. But being able to is mentally nice to know.
It's nice to know. Yeah. Which we're gonna skip around a little bit just because you mentioned it. Not necessarily running miles, but you're running some miles right now.
Yeah.
HYROX.
Yep. I did.
I don't think we mentioned that yet.
No, that's right. I did my first HYROX in New York City. I think in June, maybe June. Yeah, in June. But yeah, it was great. It was a crazy story where someone was like, put yourself on the wait list, and I had no intentions of doing it, and I threw myself on the wait list, and then a ticket came up, and he was like, oh, you should reach out to this guy, and I was like, all right, this guy's got, he had like 50,000 followers. I was like, my message is not even going to go through to him.
No way.
Instantly got back to me. He's like, yeah, Venmo is this. I was like, all right, well. But it's been good. I also, for the longest time, my coworkers at Athlete Acceleration are all runners, and they've been like, when are you going to get running? When are you getting running? And I think I got to the point where I was like, they were like, hey, just start with 2 or 3 miles. And I was like, I can't run 2 or 3 miles. And I think after, the athlete in me, after saying that for so long, I was like, come on, you can do it.
You said it out loud, and you're like, damn, did I just say that?
Yeah. So I think last year my training just went all over the place. I didn't know what I was training for. I thought I was training to feel good, but nothing was keeping me accountable. There was, there was months at a time where I wasn't training, and life was fun, life was exciting. It feels really good to know, like, hey, I'm gonna focus on this, and after doing the first HYROX, it's something that I can be good at. So now having that motivation to be like, hey, if I put in the work, this is something that the outcome can be there. And I did CrossFit for a little bit. I love CrossFit, and I love following up with CrossFit and watching the CrossFit games. And there's a lot that I love about it. Individual, I didn't like how the diversity that was needed for it. And there's some, again, looking at the CrossFit athletes, they are amazing athletes because they have that diversity. Yeah. For me personally, I struggled with, if I really worked hard in Olympic lifting, and then, the workout during the open didn't have a lot of Olympic lifting, I'm like, God damn it, man. Versus HYROX, you know what you're going to do. That's the segue I'm trying to get to is, the event that you're running. Yes, there are judges, and those are kind of out of your control, but with the 8 events that you're running and the 8K that you have to run. Yeah. And I like that aspect that it's like, you can train for this so specifically, and so much is controllable.
I like it a lot. I think it came at the perfect time when it did. When I think people still love CrossFit, and obviously it kind of is like a somewhat of a brand offshoot of like a Spartan race for many reasons, but it put it into more of like a sports performance. I feel like it's more of a sports performance version of a Spartan race. It's like repeatable. It's like, hey, running, functional movements, that's it. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
It's 8 functional movements in an 8K. Don't let the functional movements destroy your run. But that's why we're seeing a lot of CrossFitters do it. We're seeing a lot of retired athletes do it. It's a cool event. They add DJs to it. They make a big thing about it as well. And
they run a great event.
Yeah, they do. It was a fun time in New York City. It was beautiful. It was right on the Hudson. The 3 days that we were there for 3 days. The day before that I ran, so that Friday. We stayed out there on the pier the whole time watching athletes run, and it was just such a good vibe. And then same thing, I ran earlier on Saturday, stayed the whole day, watched as many people as I could. It's just such a cool environment.
Yeah, they've done a really good job with that. It almost feels to me also like somewhat of like an Olympic style event, like a decathlon or something like that, or like a track meet, like in high school. It's like it's very like formalized, like everyone's doing the same thing. You have the leaderboards. Yep. They feel very like authentic, like sure, there's some people are probably cutting reps a little bit here and there, but I think the scores are the scores for the most part. They're pretty accurate. Like,
I mean, you wear the tracker so that you can't really botch it too much there. Like, yes, you can leave an urge here and there, but that's
you're
the
gaining
thing.
like half a second if you're doing stuff like that.
And that's the thing. I like, so for those listening who've watched the videos but don't know too much, like, I see judges, the HYROX judges, getting ripped kind of on Instagram. So what I did on Sunday, so I competed Saturday, and then Sunday we were still in New York City. My buddy and I volunteered ourselves to judge. So those judges that you're seeing in the open are just normal people. You get a debrief. The HYROX does a good job of, being like, this is what's a rep, this is a no rep, or this is what needs to happen. But at the end of the day, these are not professional judges. When it gets to the pro and at the pro races, that is not, it's different. Those judges are judges who are through HYROX. But like the open races are just the normal individuals. So like, it's chillax a little bit. Like it's.
How was your experience judging? Did you do it all day, or how'd it go?
It was 5-6 hours. I took wall balls, so it's the last event. HYROX wall balls are pretty strict. You have to break parallel.
Yep.
There's a couple other rules where you can't, like, the ball has to start at your chest, and you have to full descent and then toss. You can't toss on the first one and then go into descent. But I bring that up because, again, I felt for them because there was a lot of really close reps. There was a lot of, people that were right on the line, and I did my best to be authentic and to be what the rules lay out. But a lot of great vibes, but also a lot of earfuls as well. It's the people's last station, and I don't blame them. I have I have a video of me at the wall ball station when I finished my race, and I asked my judge. I was like, is there water here? Because there's water at every station except for wall balls, of course.
Of course.
So I look at her, I go, is there water? And she's like, no. And I did kind of rant a little bit. So, again, I feel for it. There's a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
But it was nothing personal to my judge, and a lot of the people who gave me an earful, there was nothing personal. It's just kind of how it is. But they do a very good job. Again, the judges on my race and what I saw were as best as you're going to get for thousands of people. I think over the 3-day weekend in New York City, they said 15,000 people raced. So for an event that has 15,000 competitors, I think they do the best job that they can.
Oh, my God. I've been a part of many different competitions. They're all cool in their own way, but they run a just unreal competition.
Yep.
They do a really good one. So no, that's cool. How's your training? And like you said, it's nice to kind of have a North Star for your training to like give you like here's my focus, here's what I'm training for, and that can make you. I mean, we all get busy. Like, I could go to the gym, but I have this work I got to do. Or I could go to the gym, I have this, like, and like that can, if you don't have that North Star of like, hey, if I don't get my workouts in, I'm gonna suck at this event. It's like, it's good to have that. So I'm the same way. I always have an event like, all right, what's the next event? So I like that. But how's your training been? What have you been doing for it, like in general?
It's been good. There was some things that I thought I did really well at going into New York City. I thought I could completely wing the sled. The sled absolutely kicked my butt. The sled pull, I was in like the bottom percentile. It took
the sleds are tough.
It's just like I couldn't figure it out. So mentally, I lost the game mentally. I sat there and I was like, what I'm going to do is do what the pros do, which is grab, take like 3 to 4 steps back, drop the rope, walk back up, and just pretty much use my legs. I'm going to do a sled drag.
Yeah.
You get to the warm-up area, you get like an hour before your race, there's like a warm-up area, and everyone in my heat is doing rows. I'm like, okay, I think the sled rowing it is the way to go, because that's what everyone's doing. I got there, and I was like, all right, I did a couple. I was like, all right, that kind of feels decent. I got out there, and it's the 3rd station in, so now I'm a little tired. Adrenaline's kind of kicked in a little bit. My tongue's sticking to the top of my mouth. I go to move that, and the sled doesn't move. And I was like, what do I do now? So definitely lost the mental game there. But to go to training, I'm strength training 2 to 3 times a week. Following Fit Bexy, I think is her name. So it's her plan, her program.
Was it
Bexy?
Fit Bexy.
Yeah, she's kind of in the Dan Foley realm, and she works with, again, in the private sector. I believe she's from Europe, but she spends a lot of time in the States working with professional athletes, semi-professional athletes. She's a great person to follow on Instagram. She puts out great content, but usually on her Instagram, she's with these other big names in the States.
Sure.
But for, I think it's $15 a month, she has an app which all her programs are there. So it's not like for $15 you're getting one program. This is a plug for her, sorry.
Hey,
so,
go for it. Yeah,
so
yeah.
she has a runner's program, so I do the 3 strength days in those runners program, and then I'm following a half marathon plan, which is running 3 days a week, and that's kind of my split now. So it's.
Are you doing a half marathon soon?
Maybe. We're going to keep that quiet for now.
So
I've told the athlete
There's only one reason to do a half marathon plan.
Well, it seems like a lot of the HYROX pros, that's what they follow. So that's why I did it.
Okay.
But the athlete acceleration.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
The athlete acceleration crew, they're doing a half marathon in the fall. And they're all signed up. They're waiting for me to sign up. I don't know if I'm there yet.
Sure.
I think I was definitely going to pull the trigger on it, but then HYROX Boston is going to be around that time.
Yeah.
So I want to sit down and kind of mentally think
See how
about
that looks. Yeah,
it would be the
fair.
HYROX event would be before the half. So it really wouldn't affect HYROX too much. I got to train the same way anyways.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
I think I'm hoping maybe to attempt the half.
Cool. All right.
In the fall. But
We'll see how the plan works out.
Yeah.
See where it falls.
But yeah, that's the plan. 3 strength days, just checking the boxes. It's nothing too crazy, just your traditional movements. A lot of like preventative work, which I like in our program. That's why I love it so much is, a lot of, bear crawls and a lot of glute med work and ankle mobility on top of, tib work as well. So
cool.
It's checking a lot of those boxes that I think I need for the running side of things. And then again, a 3-day a week half marathon plan.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. We're getting to the top of the hour, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I do have a quick bullet point, so we'll try to keep them. I mean, you don't have to, but somewhat brief on just like your kind of thoughts. So so one of the things you posted recently on Instagram was warm-ups. So importance of warm-ups. What are you seeing right now from athletes coming in? Are they skipping warm-ups? What are they doing for warm-ups? What's your thoughts?
I think athletes do a good job. I think any athlete that's doing dynamic warm-ups for their sports is in the right realm of things. It's just you got to do more. I know we touched on it before, but a lot of active stuff. Passive mobility is great, but if you can really do a lot of active mobility, work in the planes that you're about to do for the day. So, at athletes, it's day 1, day 2. So Monday, Tuesday is day 1. So it's a very linear day. So a lot of our warm-ups for that day are in that linear plane. Versus, Wednesday, Thursday's day 2. That's a lot of lateral work, so we're more in that lateral plane. But
cool, makes sense.
It's just get good movement. And again, if you're squatting for the day, your warm up should have a body weight squat or a movement pattern that you plan on doing for the day. So being smart with that.
That was always tricky with us in CrossFit because as we're planning the warm-ups for, let's say the workout, like you were saying, has so much variability there. So gymnastics pieces, Olympic lifting pieces, running piece, you're like, I got 10 minutes to warm up. How am I gonna warm up all these pieces? So that's cool. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Hit the planes that you're gonna be achieving in the workout.
Yeah, and multi-joint, right? So for CrossFit, a lot of inchworms, a lot of push-up pikes and stuff like that. Of hitting multi-joint movements as well.
Cool. Isometrics. I know you touched upon them I think once or twice already, but where are you seeing that they can benefit athletes or even in your own programming?
Everywhere. I think on the rehab side of things for athletic trainers, if you're not using ISOs, it's a huge piece that you're missing. But it's just from rehab side of things, it allows you to challenge different angles, the intensity, right, for an athlete who struggles to do kind of intense things, especially following an injury. ISOs are going to be huge because it's something that you can train safely, but ramp up the intensity and do an ISO for 90 seconds, and they're shaking and they're sweating.
Sure.
But even just for our athletes, right, it's almost preventative, right? Those ISOs where we have an athlete who doesn't really need to see any clinician, they just have general achy knees, where it's like, hey, let's throw some ISOs at the end of your workout, just to kind of get that preventative care and make sure we're checking the boxes. And again, you're not really putting too much. There's no shearing force to it. So again, with these athletes who are on 3 teams, they got 18 practices throughout the week. ISOs really isn't accumulating too much stress in the body as well. You're getting a lot of benefits for a very little stress.
Totally. Love it. And I think we brushed over it because I think it's a topic we've both heard a million times. But well, I'll bring it up now just for our listeners. Thoughts on especially youth athletes specializing in doing one sport year round.
I don't agree with that. I think it just being well-rounded. We talked about athleticism. We talked about, again, like almost burnout. Like you don't want these athletes to be burnt out. You're seeing so much. I mean, again, we'll go back to social media. It's a great little realm, but we're seeing these very elite youth athletes, so to say, have Instagram or TikToks because they're, a 13-year-old who's playing with 18-year-olds on the basketball court, but then you follow up with their stories later and they get burnt out. They don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
So again, between just the abuse, the wear and tear, and then just the mental burnout as well. But again, on our side of things, athletic training, we're seeing that could be a factor for ACL tears going up. And again, I'm not saying that that's the case. This is not, me making a statement, but it's asking questions of are ACL tears or injuries up? Are we seeing, Achilles is obviously the big one.
Yep.
I did see a very, again, isolated research, but they took NBA players and they surveyed them. I think it was with the Achilles recently, but it was Achilles injuries are being seen at the NBA level for athletes who are very specialized versus, again, it's tough to say because, again, is that they just haven't torn their Achilles or, again, it's tough if you don't tear. If the result is tear versus not tear, that's not very fair.
Sure.
But, again, seeing from that and some other studies.
What patterns are we seeing?
Yeah. I saw another one with college athletes tearing ACLs that it seems to be more prominent in athletes who specialize in one sport.
Sure.
Because again, it's the same pattern. They're doing a cut and juke or a step and drive.
They're less well-rounded.
Tens of thousands of times versus again a basketball player who goes to play football, and these are different movement patterns that they're doing. So
makes sense.
If there are any parents or parents of athletes listening to this, I think it's better to be well-rounded. I think mentally, physically, you're setting them up for success. Again, if we've seen it, we grew up with it. I grew up with it.
Yep.
A great athlete is usually a good athlete in other sports.
Yeah. You see those stories of like some I can't even think of the name off the top of my head, but like some of these great like wide receivers, football players that also were like, I could have gone pro in baseball too. It's like they're just good athletes all around.
Exactly.
Or like I don't know if you're a Pats fan, but I keep seeing these Drake May highlights of him being a pretty good basketball player. It's like, all right, like that's good. That's good. He's well rounded, like good athleticism. It's
and the results are there, and again the sense of any big name player, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, like you can look up and they were good at all their sports, right? Gronk was good at basketball. And I know he shares his little goofy basketball stories about how he missed a free throw to keep it 69 but whatever. But he was he was a good basketball player, and again, it's not like it's a fluke, right? There was plenty of professional athletes who were very good at all sports growing up. So I think it's best to, just let the athlete be an athlete, and once they get to the college level, then they can stick with one sport.
You mentioned it a little bit just now or earlier, ACL rehab, and so just brief brushstrokes, current thoughts on where we're at as a rehab professionals with ACL rehab. I have a couple follow-up questions on that, but where are you seeing ACL rehab as far as like where have we come a long way? What are some things you're seeing now that are pretty cool with working with these athletes?
Yeah, I think the research has already been laid out there. We know what works. We know, what doesn't. But again, we can then make tweaks that don't change the stimulus, right? So quad sets work. That is known as a fact. And short arc, long arc quads work. That's just known. But if we add a metronome, if we add a Stroop card, again, this is not from me. This is from Big Cat University. So, but and other individuals as well. But just adding that to make it fun, because again, I worked with these. Last year when I wasn't, licensed yet as an athletic trainer, was more of a sports performance coach. I could only see them from 6 months on. So at that point, it was always, what have you done? And the same thing. I heard the same thing for the 4 ACLs I worked with last year. I did the same thing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or I did the same thing Tuesday, Thursday. And again, it works. It works. But mentally, that's got to be so exhausting for 6 months to pretty much do the same thing, where if you just change the stimulus a little bit, the metronome pace, the the Stroop card versus a vector ball versus you get a lacrosse ball in their hand, and if they catch it on their left side, they do a short arc quad. If they catch it on the right side, they do a long arc quad. Like, adding that, like, makes the difference, right?
Gamifies it a little bit, give some varieties, mental stimulus,
Yeah, and then the only other thing I would add is we just got to be a little bit careful, any clinicians out there, of not, rushing timelines. I think we need to do a very good job of getting data, right? Limb symmetry index and strength index, but also, look at the athlete, and right, we're seeing these re-tears, and again, Big Cat Performance posted on his social media that he was working with a Division I college football player who got cleared at 5 or 6 months, and again, we're now working on him. He's on his third ACL, but the second time, already after tearing it once, so this is his second time he got cleared at 5 or 6 months. So just let's be smart with the timeline, right? We got to respect the healing process as well, and that's that 9, 12, 18-month timeline. Again, we can prevent the athlete from burning out if we train into 12 to 18 months by adding variability and making training. We can do controlled exercises on the turf, and we can do uncontrolled exercises on the turf, but again, not just being like, oh, you can split squat, you can pistol squat, you can squat, your hamstrings are at this strength level. Like, that's a strength component, and I think we kind of dive in a lot as clinicians to, like, oh, the strength is there, but, like, as an athlete, are you setting them up for failure? Like, that's great. That, let's say you get, which is not even the case for a healthy individual, you get 100% limb symmetry index, between unaffected and affected, which you're laughing because you're like, that never happens. But let's say ideal world, right? You still might not be setting that athlete up for success because they haven't touched the lacrosse stick in 3 months, or they haven't made a move, right? That is great. That is huge that you got that success with strength. But you need to then focus on what can they do on the field. And again, if so many lately, again, I don't have enough experience to really specifically touch on it, but I'm shocked a little bit on how these athletes who are returning from an ACL in contact sports, that their doctors and clinicians are telling them they don't need to wear a brace. Like, I get it. Like, does the brace really help too much with their specific movements? I don't know. But again, if you're a lineman, if you're playing in lacrosse, like, those are uncontrollables, right? And I can't imagine a brace not at least helping a little bit if someone takes out your leg, right? I had an athlete who unfortunately tore their ACL. They're on their second after having a very good, successful recovery, strictly because they were a soccer player who got taken out, right?
That's so tough.
I'm not saying a brace would have prevented that, but it's just we need to have these considerations. Timeline, where they are at on the field and mentally is a huge one. Where they're at mentally is pretty much everything. But then again, braces and all these different things. So things to consider.
I was on my phone just for a second, just because there was something I saw the other day. It was a study that was reposted. Do you follow Dan Pope at all, or the Mike Reinhold team? So this is a study he reposted from 2018. So hopefully things will come along. But have you seen that?
Yes, I have said that.
So the study is only 30% of patients completed a plyometric program in general prior to their return to sport after ACL surgery, ACL reconstruction surgery, which is only 30%. Like, that means 70% didn't do a plyometric, like jumping, cutting,
before
agility,
going in
before returning to sport.
The
like,
demands of sport.
Like, I saw that and I had to read it twice. I'm like, that can't be true.
Yep, and that's not the athlete's fault. That is on us as clinicians. So it's just. Again, it's one of those things of, like, and my UMass Boston athletes know that if I can grab a volleyball and do something on the court with them, if I can grab a lacrosse stick and do something there, like, I'm itching to do it because the athlete in me wants to do it. So if I'm itching to do it, being, what is it now, 6 years retired? I retired from baseball 6 years ago, or my baseball career ended 6 years ago. If I'm itching to do something with a sport, what do you think they are, right? They're itching to do something.
Yeah. So. It's so tough because, like you said, like you check those boxes. Like, I know, like 80% has kind of been but I think we're trying to push more towards like 90%. Of like limb symmetry, and then you have like all the like the jump tests, the hop tests, stuff like that. And it's like, sure, like green check marks, green lights, A+, and all those are great, but there's still some work that needs to be done from like a let's get you feeling good and ready before you actually step out on the field and test things out.
Yeah.
Let's
it's just the next step, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that limb symmetry index doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That is the goal. But then some clinicians or some mindset is that's the end point. But the end, that's, again, that is probably one of the more important goals. But then once we hit that, now it's, all right, that's strength, now let's get to sports specific. And that's what we talked about on sports performance of, I'm not just getting them back at 100%, or our ATs shouldn't just get them back at 100%. We need to get them healthy. We shouldn't get them back healthy, or we should get them back healthy, but then beyond that as well.
Beyond. Right? I wonder if there's PTs and rehab professionals and maybe even orthopedics that are like, all right, you passed your test, you're good.
Yeah.
Like, bye, see you later. It's just like, there's still work to be done.
There is, to answer your question.
Yes.
I think we're getting better there, but unfortunately there is.
I don't want to keep you too long, but you're doing all right? Okay, cool.
We're doing great.
This kind of goes into the same thing. You made a post on Instagram the other day, which I really liked the analogy. I hadn't heard this before. Comparing the return to sport process to a light dimmer, a light switch dimmer.
Yeah, there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. Anything with sports related or in sports performance, right? You have good practices. You got bad practices. You feel great some days. You don't on other days. But it just comes down to, really educating the athletes. It's one thing that I've really taken pride on is educating the athletes on how to take care of their bodies themselves.
Sure.
Two moments stick out for me where I worked at a high school earlier in the year. A girl had really tight lower back, and we found that it was a lot of hip mobility. And I gave her some 90-90 variations, and I go in like 3 days later, and her teammates like, my lower back's been tight too. And Dylon helped you with that, and she started actually coaching her on what she's been doing, and that means a lot. And then same thing, with the athletes on. There was a day in the spring in which one of my athletes went to come in for rehab, and I wasn't there. And she emailed me, and she was like, "Hey, I did this, and I thought I would throw this in." And it's being coachable. So, but it's just it ebbs and flows. Going off the whole conversation, you might have 4 days where you feel great, you're pain free, and then you might have a day that you're achy or you're painful, and there's nothing to stress about, but it's what you do then. Do you have a process?
Sure.
For me, my knees since I was 19, I was a patella tendonitis guy. I turned 28 this month, but there are days that feel great and there are days that don't. But I have my process and my go-tos when I don't feel it, and I have my go-tos even when I feel great as well.
Sure.
But that's where the dimmer plays in it. It's, how much... on days that if there's a week that my knees don't feel great, then I'm really kind of amping it up a little bit. And when things feel good, I can kind of turn it down a little bit.
Sure.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
You can meet the week with what you need. Throw the drills on what you need.
Yep.
I like that. Let's see. Two more. We talked about active and passive mobility a bit already, but I think just to give you a brief summary on that. Big difference for athletes, because I know a lot of times people think mobility is like, oh, I need to be able to, and an extreme example, do the splits, or I need to touch my toes, mobility, which is great. Can I reach behind, scratch test? Can I touch my hands? But what's the difference between that and active mobility? Yeah,
passive, super important, right? It's, being able, your body to get to that position. But then, right, I would look at active mobility as how can you move your body, right?
Sure.
And as athletes, that's your product right there. It's how you move your body is how you compete and how you perform. So passive mobility is super huge. It's going to keep your body healthy. But active mobility is really a skill in which how you can and do move your body. And that's how you should approach it. Again, whether you're a clinician, a sports performance coach, or an athlete listening to this, is how do you move your body? How can you move your body?
Sure.
And if you struggle to move your body in certain ways, again, there are certain positions, being a baseball player, that my shoulder is very tight. But if I can do active mobility, then I'm getting better performance. It's a better skill for my upper body to move the way that it needs to move.
Cool. Rotational power.
Yep.
Something that is super important for athletics, but maybe for people who are just hitting their standard push-pull legs, might not see any of it.
Yeah, we have a lot of in-between muscles that need to work and engage with those rotational powers, and bilateral work and two-legged work, two-arm work is great. But again, you get pretty stiff pretty quickly if you don't work the in-between muscles, and a lot of unilateral work, and especially rotation. There's a lot of right? Muscles of the hip. I wish they laid down flat and all in their separate little ways, but as we know, they're intertwined and interlinked. So that's why rotation's huge, is because you get to work on, with the muscles a little bit, that are not laid down as straight as we would like for them to be laid down. And anatomy would be a lot easier if that was the case. But just rotation, especially, right? You work on the hips, you work on the spine, you open everything up. That's what we say in ARC, and that's what Tyler said as well. But you work on the hips, you work on the core, you work on the spine. Everything else feels great downstream. So,
yeah, great. I love it. Great answer there. One last bullet point. That's I actually you were talking about this a little bit earlier about through some of the ARC advanced rehab course training. There's a lot of like foot and ankle type injuries, like obviously ankle sprains, stuff like that. What are your thoughts on, and I know different sports require different things, but in general, training shoes, barefoot style footwear, being barefoot itself, types of shoes, orthotics, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a tool. It's not anything that's going to fix your problem. Right now, getting into this running realm, there's definitely running shoes make a huge difference.
Sure.
But we have athletes that do squats and deadlifts without shoes, and there are times, obviously, when they're cutting and jumping and wearing shoes. So it just kind of worked for you. We give inserts to our athletes plenty of times when they can utilize it. We're doing taping techniques to create arches as well when we need it. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to rely. The goal is to not rely on. So
right.
If you need inserts, that's great, and they help you, that's perfect. But on top of that, you should be doing some arch or footwork as well, right? So kind of having this tool to help you with where you're at, and meet you where you're at, but then also always getting better and working to have your body, be able to handle what it needs to handle on its own, right? If you need tools to start off with, perfect, that's great. But again, you should be doing some extra stuff on the side as well.
I like that. I think that's like a really nuanced approach to it, not to use a buzzword, but like that. I think the pendulum at first, like people who are good at orthotics is like, here's your orthotics. That's what you're wearing for the rest of your life. You're screwed, essentially. And then I feel like it kind of swung super far to like throw away your orthotics, only do bare feet. Like you don't need them. But yeah, there's some instances where it's helpful, but like don't forget about like working the muscles of the foot and the arch, all that stuff at the same time. Like, so I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that. For me, I have a pair of barefoot shoes. I have super flat feet, but I have a good toe splay. So with my barefoot shoes, which again work with my toe splay, I have inserts in them. So I have arch support, but then the barefoot wide toe box allows me to have my toes out wide.
I'm wearing orthotics in these barefoot shoes.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So you get it. And then I will say I've also played around with, and I do play around with during the rehab process. So like with shin splints, for example, early in rehab when they start to be reintroduced to plyometrics, if they have Brooks or more Hoka's more supported, like that's also part of rehab where when I reintroduce an athlete to plyometrics following a shin splint injury, they're wearing shoes, but then I do progress them into bare feet.
Sure.
So that's something to also think about as well, is have that be our tool as a clinician of, are they wearing shoes because that's where they need to be, or are we progressing to no shoes so there's a little bit more impact being sent up the bone?
Love it. Very cool. Awesome. All right, so to wrap up, and I'll let you get out of here because we're about an hour and a half into this now, but anything coming up that you're super excited for, whether it's through the ARC Advanced Rehab Certification Training, any cohorts, or HYROX Boston sounds like it's on the list.
Yeah.
Maybe half marathon. I'll put that in the universe.
Fine print.
Yeah.
Delete it if I don't sign up.
Right. Can you edit that out? No. Anything else coming up that you're excited for? Plans?
HYROX Boston, the tickets go on sale a week from today. So fingers crossed that I get into the queue. But I know the queue has been crazy. Yeah. I plan on probably teaching one more ARC cohort in the fall, but I know Tyler's teaching. He's back to teaching. He'll teach in August, so big shout out to him and that cohort. That's going to be a great cohort. Again, he is an incredible instructor. It's his material, so he knows that inside out. Both times I've taken it with him, it's just been incredible.
Cool.
And then nothing else, nothing too crazy from there. Just continue to train with HYROX. UMass Boston, we had a really good season with athletics this year, so looking forward to seeing how the teams do next year.
Very cool. And then where can people find you? Same Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram's Dylon Grzenda 7. I've been consistent with posting every week on Instagram. I think I've posted 2 TikToks in the last couple months, but that's, I think, just Dylon Grzenda.
Nice.
But yeah, those are kind of the 2, and LinkedIn. I'm huge on LinkedIn lately. I actually post on LinkedIn more than I post on TikTok. So I'm more specific on LinkedIn.
Cool.
I'll post really
Cool.
very specific. One of them was a sled push. How to utilize sled push in acceleration work. So LinkedIn is for those who have LinkedIn.
Sweet.
I'm really utilizing that as well.
Love it. And then I'm going to ask you the tough question. And it could be the same answer, and I have to look back and see what it is. I don't know if you remember, but you get the billboard. Let's put it outside. Let's put it outside UMass Boston this time. You get the billboard outside UMass Boston, so you can put whatever you want on it. Could be just a word, a phrase, a saying, a favorite motto, quote, whatever. But I would say let's position it to either your athletes or like the people you serve, or even just like the athletic training, rehab, like community out there.
Yep, I'm staying on this one for
All
Nick Bear. He recently in his podcast, he talked about, are you being productive or are you being busy? So obviously in our realm of, in our industry, it's great to see people. A lot of people are in the running game right now. A lot of people in HYROX and all these. And even getting away from that, a lot of people working 2 jobs and all these different things. But he talked a lot about, are you utilizing your time efficiently by being productive, or are you just being busy so you don't have to sit at home and kind of being with your own thoughts? And
I like that.
I thought that was huge.
To open up a whole other podcast on that one.
Absolutely. So
Part 3.
I'll mic drop it on that one. Again, I'm not taking the credit for it. That's totally on Nick Bear. But definitely for those listening, a huge thing to think about. Are you being productive? Are you being busy?
Love it. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you,
man. I appreciate it.
Crushed it. Good stuff. Signing off.
Dude, let's go. Here, quick selfie. That was awesome, man.